So you may have noticed over the last few expansions, we keep getting rustled about by Naga. A few of them turn up in a patch, some stuff happens, we get a bit of a mystery, and then they go away. Well, that's what we'll be talking about, but today it's all getting a little bit more tangible. The Naga are gathering magic from across the world in preparation for something called the Concord of the Tides. They are reuniting, they're planning something really big, and this is now the third expansion in a row where we've dealt with the Naga, and it's the third time that the Naga have promised Azshara is coming. They keep on saying she's coming, she hasn't arrived yet, and what's odd is that in a way, there weren't supposed to be Naga in Midnight. If you think back to the Gamescom reveal in 2025, the big reveal of Midnight, we learned about the story, who Xal'atath was, and even that Sylvanas was going to make a little bit of an appearance. But when asked about the Naga, Blizzard said not in Midnight. Bit weird, right? Because if you look on the shores of Eversong, you see Naga. If you look back to Dragonflight and the War Within, you think about the promise of Azshara's return. We covered it extensively in the two patches that did a whole bunch of work teasing us. But when we look into WoW's near future, I think it's becoming clear Azshara is part of the current Void War. But there's a little bit of a problem, and that is that the story Blizzard promised for Azshara, well, it no longer makes sense. And that means we're past asking if Azshara will return. There is no doubt of that. It's been so clear 3 expansions in a row. Instead, what we're asking is, how the hell does she make sense when she does return? What will she do? Or are they just going to speedrun her as another central villain? Or maybe will the Last Titan just be even bigger than we expect? Somehow, with Azshara. Something important first though, privacy online keeps getting worse, and AI-driven phishing is now basically indistinguishable from real emails. We've got the likes of the UK's Online Safety Act expanding, and there's still no big federal privacy law in the US. And that's the backdrop in which I use today's sponsor, NordVPN, because with Nord, I can browse from different regions whenever I want to. Handy for checking regional pricing in games, accessing content that's geo-locked for no good reason, or just not having my ISP log everything I do. The dynamic pricing angle alone has saved me money in the likes of airlines, software, car rentals, all those things that charge differently based on location. With one smart booking, you quite literally can pay for your Nord subscription in what you save. On top of that, Threat Protection Pro blocks malicious sites and trackers before they reach you, essentially giving you an active layer of protection that's running in the background. And at nordvpn.com/Bellular Warcraft, you'll get an exclusive deal plus 4 extra months for free on a 2-year plan, and that's backed by their 30-day money-back guarantee. Queen Azshara was set up as a looming threat in early Warcraft lore. You see, before the old gods, she was the kind of ancient evil from long ago in the past. She was the person who sold Azeroth out to Sargeras and wrecked the world. Just take a look at this concept map from Warcraft 3. She really was the homegrown big bad that explained why Kalimdor was a thing. Then in vanilla, Murlocs and Naga flooded the beaches of the world, promising that Azshara was still under the ocean. Much later, when Deathwing surfaced, the world was attacked by servants of the old gods. Azshara attacked Darkshore, very much confirming her alliance to N'Zoth. And then finally, in Battle for Azeroth, we invaded Nazjatar, we stormed her Eternal Palace, and we stopped her plans in their tracks. She had ended up failing, and for that failure, she was brought to Ny'alotha and tortured. We then freed Azshara in exchange for the Black Blade, which would be a way, we thought, to kill N'Zoth. And of course, more recently, that's the blade that Xal'atath, stabbed Illyria with the last time that we saw her. But going back to the end of Battle for Azeroth, when we rescue Azshara from her torture, she tells us something really interesting. She says that she is tired of intermediaries like the old gods, and of heralds. Perhaps heralds like Xal'atath. No, Azshara said that she was going to find the true throne of power and claim it for her own. She then stepped through a void portal and disappeared. At that point, it was clear Blizzard knew where Azshara's story would be going. It seemed she would be going beyond the Umbral Veil to claim the true throne of the Void. And lo and behold, in the very next expansion, we discovered Zereth Mortis, and we discovered that the Void had something similar to whatever Zereth Mortis was for the Realms of Death. So it seemed clear Azshara was going to go there, find some crazy Void power, and become the most powerful entity in the setting. Now, that throne of power is perhaps where Dimensius was sitting, and here's the problem for Blizzard. That's pretty much what Xal'atath just did, right? It kind of feels like they gave the bones of an Azshara return story to Xal'atath, even right down to needing a coalition of elves to fight back against her. I mean, hell, in so many ways, the story of Midnight kind of feels like it would have worked better if Azshara was the big threat, given, of course, that, she was an elf. She's got a direct link to the High Elves, who, of course, later do become Blood Elves. So it's a bit weird, and while Xal'atath looks like an elf, remember, she is just a weird void creature that is inside an elven skin suit. We literally procured that body for her during Battle for Azeroth. So, here's the problem for us then. Azshara is still coming back. There really is no denying it. It was made clear in the Forbidden Reach, it was made clear in the Siren Isle, and has been made clear once again in patch 12.05. That raises the obvious question. If a lot of her story is basically being given to Xal'atath, well, what is Azshara actually doing right now? Azshara is doing more than you would expect. You see, Midnight side quests have been incredible, and walking into Golden Mist, you could believe that there is nothing to do but make wine and pick flowers for the Magisters. But that's until we find a Farstrider. Farstrider who has been bitten by a snapdragon. Now he tells us that he's on the tail of the Naga, and that these Naga have been attacking Silvermoon's shipping lanes. We inspect some stolen cargo, and when we do, we discover the Naga were stealing arcane crystals from the city. We find one of them, but we find that it's been drained of its power. Now, the Farstriders just brush this off as the Naga being big old arcane junkies, but there's clearly something else going on. In their camp, we discover the Naga have stolen enough arcana to wipe out Golden Mist, but they choose not to. They use some, but most of it is getting shipped out to sea. Now, we end up shutting down the whole operation, and then we kill Princess Nazjena, who, when she dies, calls out to someone named Nazjak. And as she dies, she says that they'll rise again. So, who's Nazjak? Well, Nazjak is this guy, a random rare mob from the Arathi Highlands. But he's a wee bit more than that. He is Prince Nazjak, leader of the Daggerspine. And whether he's the brother, husband, or perhaps even husband-brother, though I don't think WoW's lore tends to go in that direction, of the princess that we just killed, it does feel like this guy is going to be relevant soon. I mean, all that arcana is being shipped somewhere, and it's not the only thing that the Naga are gathering up. Because in patch 12.05, we find Daggerspine Point has been turned into a ritual site, where a Naga Sea Witch has transformed void obelisks into another energy source. And what we see the Sea Witch do is drain Xal'atath's servants and basically ship the energy out to sea, which is what had been done with the Arcana. That stuff's all suspicious, but here's where it gets kind of crazy. In yet another incredibly important bit of Naga communication that we found, it's this enchanted scroll, we basically see the truth of things, and we learn that the Daggerspine are not the people running this operation. In fact, the Deep Lurk are. They're a group of Naga from the Abyssal Depths whose leader, Narjira, is Azshara's personal champion. Now what's wild is that Narjira demands the rituals in Eversong be complete before something known as the Concord of Tides is called. It's not hard to figure out what the Concord of Tides is though. I mean, the Naga are a fairly scattered people, but the Concord of Tides. I mean, it seems fairly obvious that this is them coming together in some sort of big meeting. And that shouldn't be a surprise, because we've known for quite some time that the Naga are up to something, and that it certainly seems like they're organizing. All the way back in Dragonflight patch 10.07, we went to the Forbidden Reach. There's a lore book there that is called A Song of the Depths, and that book tells us when Azshara will return. It's quite nice whenever we get prophecies that just say what happens. So it opens by saying that Azshara calls from beyond the umbral veil, where she has transcended the circle of stars and now basks in eternal grandeur. Seems great for her. Now, this was basically a scroll saying that Azshara has completed her mission, whatever it may be. Now, the Circle of Stars is, let's just say, some big brain lore stuff. I guess it's kind of describing the cosmic chart. And then, of course, in the Shadowlands, we learned that the Xal'ataths were beyond that circle. So what we learn is that Azshara found the throne, found the power, and is now basking in all of it. But it then tells us that she'll only return after a primal power consumes an ancient hunger, which of course is Ridicron, consuming Galakron's essence, gets shoved into the Dark Heart. We also learn that she'll return after the Dark Heart is broken, which of course is something that we saw in the War Within. Now, it also talks about how she's not here to consume or to destroy, but rather she's here to take what she believes is hers. And if you know anything about Queen Azshara, it's basically that she kind of just thinks she should be, queen of the planet. Effectively. So that's what she wants. But of course, this stuff, patch 1007, was all going down before the World Soul Saga was a thing. And with World Soul Saga, well, all bets were off, and many lore plans that it seemed Blizzard were building had to be bent into a new shape. So, if Azshara was promised in Dragonflight, then that kind of meant nothing for a post-Metzen return writing room. All that energy and potential storytelling was shifted onto Xal'atath. So, that's that. Azshara's out. No Naga in Midnight, right? Well, not so much actually, because in the War Within, which was the beginning of the World Soul Saga, we found the Darktide Naga on the Siren Isle. We find out that they're there basically because of a big old light crystal, and that they want to bring that light crystal back to their queen. They say that Azshara's storm is coming, and they call her name out whenever they die. We actually also learn that the Arathi Empire had been dealing with, Naga incursions in their waters and a bunch of stuff like that. So, when we bring all of this stuff together then, what we know is that, Queen Azshara is coming back. Probably not in the Midnight expansion, which leaves me thinking it's either the last Titan, or it's for the game's future after the World Soul Saga. But what we do know is who she is, what she wants, and how she's going to get it. We know she's achieved her goal of transcending the void. We know she's found the true throne and taken the power behind it. That is the setup for modern Azshara. And since then, Blizzard have repeatedly shown Naga in the world doing extremely suspicious things, and pretty much all talking about the return of Azshara. And we know that that stuff is not fully scrapped from the game because it's further backed up in Midnight. And that leaves us with a final task, and that's to work out how the hell Azshara fits into any of this. Because as it stands, Xal'atath is at the heart of the world. She's about to wrench Azeroth from the Titan's grasp and force them to return in, of course, the last Titan expansion. That's what has been set up. We don't know exactly how that'll go down, but I expect that Xal'atath survives Midnight and becomes something greater and more terrible than anything we've ever seen. If she does, perhaps expect a three-way fight between the Titans, the Void-aligned forces, and us. Now, in a fight like that, Xal'atath is going to need allies. So perhaps then, it's not coincidence that we recently found a data-mined reskin of N'Zoth, looking pretty damn beat up. So, if there's going to be a trio of the Void that I could see being strong enough to end the Titans, I suppose it would be Xal'atath, Azshara, and N'Zoth. Even though I don't think the long-term interest of any of those characters are even aligned. But that's hardly ever a problem for the Void now, is it? Either way then, Azshara's return is absolutely going to happen, but it's no longer clean, because it seems her role in the story has shifted. But even since it's shifted, Blizzard have continued teasing her. So it's very possible she'll come back soon, and it could be bigger than anything Blizzard had in mind post-Battle for Azeroth. I'd love to know. So please, go in the comments and tell me how you think Azshara will return, and if you even trust Blizzard to land what absolutely is one of our longest standing threats. And for another hit of lore, and lore that I think will really help you understand what the hell's going on in the lore right now, and just where we're going to be going next, how it all fit into the Last Titan and the rest of this expansion, you gotta watch this video next. It's about the World Core, it's about Azshara, basically. It's about the thing that all of the baddies want, and the state of it right now. I think it'll help you a lot, so go check it out, and let me know what you think in the comments.